Hello. So today I'm just going to run through making a fairly simple donut shape and creating a dynamic particle system that emits the particles from above it, and they're going to act as sprinkles and they're going to stick to the top of the donut using particle operators and dynamic operators. So we're just going to start with this simple donut here. Open it up, give it a name. We need to smooth it out. Let's give it some rows and columns, about 50 each. Yeah, looks nice. And our donut needs a bit of a color, so we'll just use a color node here. Connect pretty simple using this node system. Change the color to a nice pretty brown sort of color. Where are we at? Yeah, that'll do it. Let's just use the arena view so we can see that. As we can see, this is far too smooth. This is absolutely too smooth. No donut is ever this smooth. So using a mountain noise, I'm going to drop it in here. And if we put the render on that, that is absolutely appalling. So we're just going to bring that height down to about 0.1, and then we get this nice natural sort of uneven look here. So that's the base of the donut pretty much done, but we need to use a null node here. Now the null node will be used and helpful as a reference for later on when we need to create groups. We're going to call this donut out. This null will actually become quite in handy later on. Come back out here. This donut, easy. Now we're going to want to create some icing, right? So we'll create an icing, a geo node here. We'll call it icing. Open that up. Now icing, it needs to be the same geometry as the top of the donut. So we're going to have to reference the donut we just made. So I want to do that. I'm going to make an object merge here. Open that up. And here with the object one, we're going to reference donut out, which is the null we made earlier. And look at that. Now we have the donut in. But we only want the top, right? So from here, we're going to make a group out of this. So tab, group, connect that bad boy. And from this group, we're going to make points, because we're just going to use the point system for this. We want to hold space and 3 to get a nice side view. Click this arrow here for selection. And we want the top, so we're going to select the top. Space 1 to go back and enter. Now we have our selection. Now back over in the node graph, we're going to create a delete node with our points selected. Put that in. Put the operation, the entity to points, and the group to group 1, which we have here. Now we want to do delete non-selected. And has that worked? Points. Ah, we need to render it up, of course. For goodness sake. Why is that not? Group. Group 1. There we go. For goodness sake. Silly me. So now we've rendered it. Sorry about that. We have it out. And so this is what the top of our icing would look like, wouldn't it? The thing is, it wouldn't be smooth with the donut. So we're going to have to thicken this out with an extrude. Hit tab, we're going to hit poly extrude here. Poly extrude. We're going to connect that to the delete node. Where are we? We're going to take the distance, and we're probably just going to put it up to, what, 0.1? That's still too far big, so we go 0.01 maybe. Yeah, that's a nice thickness, I think. We can see under here that it's actually not a solid shape. So if we go down here to the extrusion, we have output front, which if we select and deselect, you can see that's the top. Output side is this seam here. If we click output back, right, that creates a solid geometry. We want to make sure the back face is ticked for that, and we want to create a new group out of the front face. So we can see this is the front face. This is where we're going to create a collider from for later on. So we've got an extrude front, and what we're going to call this, we're just going to call this icing top from reference later. Finally, we're going to create another color node because icing is not brown. Unless you have chocolate icing, I guess, but I'm making a pink frosted one. So for me, I'm going to choose pink. Kind of like a lighter pink. Yeah, that's good, that's good. That doesn't look good. Finally, just top it off. We get our null reference. Create a null. Let's give this a name. Icing out. Simple. So now when we go back to our main node area, we can see we have our donut with icing, and it's got, extrusion. From here, we're going to move on to making the sprinkles. So just like last time, make a new geo. Call this bad boy sprinkles. Lovely. Let's open them up. Just like last time, we're going to use a object merge spell to bring in our icing geometry. Just as last time, object 1, find our icing, icing out, right here. Now we can bring it in. Now we only want the top. Remember how we made a group? We only want the top, so in order to do that, we bring in a delete node again. And we're going to select icing top. And if we go delete non-selected, oh yeah, wait, why do I always forget? We need to render it. Well, put it into render mode. Now we can see we only have the top. Perfect. So from here, we want to create a scatter. That kind of will help point transform information for when we create the actual sprinkles to apply to the donut. So we're going to tab here, scatter, plug that bad boy in. We can see we have a lot of scatter points here. You can click this little button here to get a better view of what we're looking at. That's far too many. So we click on our scatter, and if we want to lower the count, we can just go to force total count. And let's say, how many sprinkles do I want? 100. Let's go 100. Now these are too evenly spaced. If we use the relax iterations, we can bring down the sort of randomness of it. So if I go 0.1, or actually just 0, let's see, 1. We can see how that's really sort of drastically increased the spread or noise of it. Right, now we want to actually create a piece of geometry to be coordinated to these points. So let's create a tube. We won't connect that yet. We're going to want to make this a polygon with end caps. Let's render this out. I'm just bring down this radius scale so it's obviously it's huge right now, but we want it to be sort of the right size for what you think a sprinkle might be like. Sorry about that, just had a little bit of a complication, but it's probably edited it out, so I probably don't even need to apologize. But where were we going? So we've got our sprinkle tube. And what was I going to create? That's right, a copy to points node. Copy to points, here we are. So this is going to help copy the tube geometry to the scatter information. So we're going to plug in the object to the left. That's where the geometry is required. And then the points copy comes on the right here. Now if we go to the render view here, we can see that they're absolutely huge. So this is where we get into attributes. Attributes can be applied to any form of geometry or anything like that. When we go to the info, we can see what attributes are applied right now. So we have a P here at the moment for position, and there's plenty of other attributes available to us. But what we need to use is P scale. P scale will help scale all these sprinkles down to the same size. So we're going to create an attribute behavior. Where is it? Attribute. What do I call it? Attribute create, right? Yeah, attribute create. Here we are. We're going to put it between the uh, scatter. Yeah, we're going to put it under the scatter. We're going to open it up. Where are we? And we want to change the name of the attribute to p scale, like I just said. And we can immediately see that they've all disappeared. We want to take the value away from 0. We're going to middle mouse click, take it down here, and we can see that the points start to change. If we take away the point view here, we can see all the sprinkles are now being applied to the points using the p scale attribute. So I'm gonna, I might put them to 0.3, because I kind of like the sort of more obvious thick look. Actually, no, that's not 0.3. That's 0.3. There we go. Now, a couple things. They're all the same color, and they are all sticking upright. So we're going to create, for the color, sprinkles are usually lots of different colors. So we're going to create a attribute random, but you can say a ran for attribute randomize. And we're going to drop it after the p scale attribute. Put it in here, and immediately you can see all the colors have just changed to random. I'm going to keep it as that, and the biggest thing here we need to deal with is the orientation of all these sprinkles. They're sticking up. So how we're going to do that is we're going to create a normal mode node. So normals, if we go to the view here and we activate the normal view, let's just go back to our object. Normals are information that is stored on the geometry, and it shows you the orientation, point orientation. So we're going to use the normals to plot the z orientation of the tubes so they're flying flat on the surface of the geometry. So we have the normals. I'm just going to put it after the delete node here. That work? That view, and immediately it just works. We have all the sprinkles are now on our donut. Perfect. From here, we're just going to create a null. You know how it goes. Where are we? We'll call this sprinkle out. Perfect. So this is where it's going to get interesting. I want to create these dynamic sort of emitter that emits these particles, these sprinkles as particles, so that they fall on the donut, kind of like we're dressing it. So from here, we're going to create a new geo. We're going to call it dynamic sprinkles. We're going to open it up. We're going to go tab. We're going to hit grid. We're going to create a grid. We're just going to make that 2 by 2. Yeah, perfect. Bring over here. Give it a name, whatever. I'll just call it emitter, whatever. From here, we kind of want it to be in a different space. We're going to use transform. This is where we're going to do a little bit of keyframing, just to sort of keyframe an animation for this plane to float over the donut, and it's going to emit the particles over top. We'll translate it up for, where are we? Yep, we're nice and high. And I'm actually going to put it 3 units away. We're going to Alt click here. That's going to create a Bezier keyframe for animation. We'll take it all the way to the end. Let's go 215, whatever. And where was our keyframe? And Alt click, and now we have 2 keyframes. If I hit play, yeah, oh. I have done it wrong. The first keyframe, we're going to go 215 minus 3. Alt click. Here we go. Okay. Not sure what's going on there. So you want to make sure that you're on real time, so it's playing at 24 FPS and not playing it as fast as we can. If we look here, that's not real time. That's better. That's what we want. So now we have our emitter. Well, what's going to be our emitter? We're going to need to use a particle operator or a pop network. So in our node graph, we're going to create a pop network here. We're going to put our transform on the left here. So the way that the pop network works, when we go into it, the pop solver uses a source on the right and it uses an object on the left, and that's how it creates its output. So the object on the left is going to be outputted, and then the sources on the right help sort of, oh, what is going on here? I clicked play. Oops. Help calculate any sort of attributions or effects that you're going to put onto the object to help create an output here. So we just go back here. We have our pop network, and we're going to, yeah, we're going to open up. We're going to go to our input here, and we're going to open the birth panel here. So right now it's, we saw before, it's creating a lot. We want the birth rate to really only be about 100. So that's just going to control how many particles it's making. And if we look, yeah, you can see here, that's a lot better. After our first source, this is what I'm talking about with affecting the output. We're at tab, and we're going to grab a wind, where are we? Was it pop wind? I don't think it was just wind, it was pop wind, right? Pop wind, yeah. We'll put it between. It's going to create a bit of a scatter. So we're going to go with the amplitude. This is kind of the, oh, there you go, maximum noise value. So when we go back to the start, we hit play. Still no gravity yet, but we're getting a bit more motion. Let's get back to the start. So we need some gravity now. So between the output and the solver here, at the very end of the solver, we're going to tab, gravity force, put that in. It already has the default, Earth gravity, 9.80665. So when we play now, oh my gosh, we have falling particles. We want this to interact with our icing. That's what it's primarily going to be hitting. So in here, we're going to be creating a static object. And this is what we're going to use to help reference the icing, but also create a collider from it. We bring this down here, and you can see it doesn't have an input here. It's only got an output. So in order to connect this to the solver, we're going to have to use a, what is this one called again? I think it's just a merge node, correct? Merge, yeah, this little funnel. The object is going to go on the left here, and the pop solder is just on the right. This is going to be connected to the gravity force here, creating a new connection. If we hit L, that just helps organize everything for us. If we just open up the static object here, so we have the soft path. So that's just a surface operator. So this is pretty much just saying what surface are we looking at? And what surface are we looking at? We want to look at the icing reference that we have created earlier. So let's find our icing out, accept. Now we have our icing. So we're wanting to create a collider out of this geometry. Where are we? So we want to just hide the display. We want to go to collisions. We want to activate the collision guide. And we want to offset the surface. We want to offset the surface by about 0.01. We also want to increase uniform divisions to about 150. Here we are. So this blue mesh thing that we have here, this is what Houdini is saying, I can hit this. This is a thing that is hard. So hopefully, if we click play here, oh, we want to actually we want to unhide the geometry. If we unclick this, is this correct? Yeah, it is. So if we can see here, we can see the particles are actually bouncing off of the icing. Look closely enough. Yeah, you can see them hitting, bouncing off. But what I want is I want them to stick. I don't really want them to bounce off. So we're going to reopen the solver. Oh, no, we were already in the solver. We want to go to collision behavior. We want to go add hit attributes. And response, we want it to stick. So this is all fair and good. We want it to stick. But we need to tell the pop net out here. So just talk about this. This is the pop net and the objects that it's referencing. So right now it's saying everything, right? But we don't want everything. We open here, we just want the pop object. So we come back out, we want to reference just the pop object. Is this sticking now? Yes, it is. We can see the little particles that are sticking. Perfect. So what we want to do now is we want to create a null node that we had before to create a reference. Do we do that out here though? Yeah, dynamic sprinkles. Yeah. Null dynamic sprinkles out. So we're almost there. We've got all the sticking particles, but we want the sprinkles to be the ones referenced. So we're just going to hide the sprinkles for now. We're going to open the dynamic sprinkles. We're going to open the actual sprinkles we made earlier. So from here, we're going to need to create a object merge, like we always do. Create an object merge. And here it's going to be the dynamic sprinkles that we made earlier. So where are we? Dynamic sprinkles out, accept. And we need to use a switch node here to connect this together. Switch. So we have our switch node. And we need to connect the scatter and the new merge together. So where's our scatter? Put the scatter in here and the new merge. And the switch is going to come out. Open it and we set it to 1. Now our sprinkles are falling. and they stick. We just have one more problem, the normals again. So earlier, I actually did a bit of a mistake in the pop net. I hadn't made a pop collision behavior for the stick response. I had done the response directly in the pop solver. So I just made a pop collision behavior, set the response to stick, set this to unchanged, and made sure the add hit attributes are up. So now, when the particles fall, we get this red indicator for any particles that stick. You can kind of see. So now, we're out of our dynamic sprinkles, and we just have it hidden so the grid isn't showing. We came back in here, and I was having a bit of trouble with the normals as well. As we can see when I play it, we have the sprinkles, but when they land on the donut icing, I couldn't figure out how exactly to get the normals to work. It was really frustrating actually. And then I realized it was a simple problem, and that's that my normals were set to vertices instead of points. So now, with the object attribute transfer in between the switch and the object merge, come back out of this, and what we're left with is a particle system that uses an object to rain down the object onto a surface, and then that surface sticking them on, and we get a donut with sprinkles. So that's my tutorial. Sorry if it's a little bit long. I just wanted to demonstrate the creation of an object and also some dynamic simulation using emitter. So yeah, thanks Taylor.